All right, welcome everybody to week number 6 of Running It Back. That's right, the best podcast about Valorant, named after Phoenix's ult in North America. I'm Jamerson, and joining me, of course, again, we do have MissHarvey here every single week, and we have a special guest for this episode. I'm super excited about it. Because, this is someone I've been able to call a colleague on desks before. We worked in the collegiate Overwatch scene together. We did finals for that. And, MissHarvey, you have a history with Ben himself. Well, let me go ahead and do the introduction. It is Ben Fishstix Goldhopper coming in, joining us from Juked, who has been spending this last year building out an amazing tool. But you know what? I think he should speak for it himself. Ben, thank you for coming on to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here, joined by two friends that we've known each other in the esports space for a really long time. I used to do these kinds of shows and podcasts a lot more often, so I really miss this kind of opportunity to just jab about kind of like everything going on in Valorant Esports. I have a lot of opinions about First Strike that I would love to talk about a little bit later in the show, but just happy to be here.
Yeah. So you've been spending the last year working on this really cool tool. Before that, of course, you were with Twitch for a very long time, but now striking out on your own. Tell us what's going on with Juked, what it is for people who don't know, and why they should be using Juked.
Our goal with Juked is to create a one-stop destination that has everything you need to follow your favorite esports games. So today, if you're an esports fan, you already know that you're going to have to crawl across dozens of different channels on Twitch, YouTube. You're going to have to go to Liquipedia and all these different sources just to find the brackets. It's just this incredibly fragmented space. So even if you're following just Valorant, I think that's even it's been almost the hardest esport to follow because there's right now with First Strike, there's about 42 different tournaments going on in different regions, and you never know what channel it's going to be on. You never know how to find the brackets. You never know how to find the standings. You never even know when it's freaking starting. So even if you're just a fan of one game, that we think we're providing a really great service in that we have scores, schedules, stats, player profiles, news, all of the live streams, VODs. You can set reminders for your favorite matches, things like that, all in one place. But if you're like me and you like following multiple different esports titles, then I think the value even grows more because we have not just Valorant, but Super Smash Brothers and Street Fighter and Call of Duty and Counter-Strike and League of Legends and Dota. And the list goes on and on and on. Oh yeah, we have Overwatch too, if you care about that. But so that's really the idea. We're trying to make it easy to stay in tune with everything that you follow in esports in one place, rather than having to go across the internet to find it.
I think for the last 10 or 15 years, every time I have to plan my year, it's super hard because I travel, I go to multiple events, I follow multiple esports, and it's always like, where can I find the esports calendar? I need to know if I can take that gig that weekend. I want to make sure I don't miss out on this tournament or this and that. And then Juked happened, and all of my stress was able to be removed because you offer that, and it's well done, and we know you don't miss out on stuff, and you filled for me a gap that for a long time I needed, and I couldn't believe when you guys launched it how good it was, and it just keeps getting better.
I really appreciate that, Stephanie. I appreciate the kind words. I think people in the industry have felt this pain even the most acutely. But I think one of our other goals is to actually grow esports in general. We want to be the place that a new esports fan discovers what's happening across the industry as well. So for folks like me and you, it's a good tool. But I think our goal is to be where the next 100 million esports fans discover esports for the first time. So that's a big part of our mission as well.
Go ahead. No. You first.
No, I was going to say, I think it is a very important thing because particularly we will be touching upon it later with how stressful it was just to try to watch First Strike over the last week. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch it. I was a little bit too busy, but you guys provide that tool to really become like the hub for esports, especially for fans, like you said, that have been trying that follow a lot of esports. I mean, particularly for myself, I know you guys have put some work into Apex Legends as well, and that itself can become extremely hard to watch, for the simple fact that they don't have something like a command center tool that like the Overwatch League had, which was an extremely awesome tool. And so you guys have kind of filled in that gap. It's really awesome to see.
Yeah, no, and like, I think, if you're a hardcore Counter-Strike fan, like MissHarvey is, you have these sources like HLTV.org, right, that are pretty great. Like, obviously, HLTV has a ton of information and everything you need for that one game. But again, if you're following multiple games, then it becomes more challenging. And then there are games like Apex Legends, like newer emerging titles that simply don't have an HLTV equivalent. So our goal is to step in and be that for each individual game. And again, for those people that want to follow like a bunch of different games, we'd love to hear your feedback. We know the product's evolving. We know it's getting better. We want to improve the product based on your feedback. So I'm always available for to listen to your ideas to improve it as well. I'm Fishstix on Twitter. Just hit me up anytime.
And to be quite frank, you guys are improving quite fast. I worked in dev before, and I know how sometimes it can be complicated, but also sometimes it can also be easy. Like, just have a goal, ship it, And why is it taking so long for some things to take so long? Anyway, you guys know what I mean. But you guys are improving and evolving and putting on new updates all the time. And that's what I really like about your platform is you already had some kind of like successful entry. You could have just sat on it for a little bit, but you keep pushing the envelope. And I've been loving your journey with Juke. Let's just say that. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. All the credit goes to my co-founder, Chris, ChanManV. I'm sure you all know ChanManV too. He's my co-founder, and Dylan, who's our head of engineering. They're the ones that are really doing all the product stuff. I'm just doing these types of things. I'm doing the marketing, and they're the ones that are actually building the damn thing. So.
Yeah. I have a question for Ben before we jump into Juke and Valorant, because it is Valorant podcast. I really want to know generally how you felt between the transition from Twitch to Juke being successful. Like your journey through that process. How did you feel in the like having it to kind of start fresh, start new after that journey that you had at Twitch?
Yeah, so I was with Twitch for more than 7 years, which was incredible. I mean, like, if you think back to like 2010, 2011, before Twitch launched, not only was esports just a small fraction the size of it is as it is today, but back then, like, even gaming wasn't cool. It was something that you kind of didn't talk about. It's not something that you showed as a badge of honor. It was still this nerdy hobby. And then the advent of Twitch obviously changed everything for esports and gaming, I would say, in general. I don't want to sound like overly conceited, but I really truly believe that Twitch was like a big sea change there for just the gaming community in general. So it was an incredible ride. Obviously Amazon acquisition somewhere in the middle, growing like crazy. But ultimately, it was time to part, and I was looking around in the industry. I knew that I wanted to build this project called, it wasn't called Juked yet. I knew I wanted to build this. I didn't take the plunge right away. It was definitely talking to some esports teams, some game publishers, had a couple interesting job offers, but nothing that was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. I have to take this. And eventually decided, I've been friends with ChanManV, Chris, for a long time, and we just the timing seemed right. We had talked about this idea probably a dozen times over the years. So we were both lucky enough to have the resources and ability to say, okay, we don't necessarily need to start paying ourselves. In fact, we're able to like invest some of our own money to actually get Juked off the ground. So we were lucky enough to be in a position to do that, and we just decided to go for it.
Oh, great story. I'm happy I got to know. Okay. Jamerson, why don't we jump a little bit into the news? I want to start, first of all, with you approached it a little bit, how Juke's involvement with some emerging games, I want to say it, although Valorant can it still be called emerging? I don't know, but definitely have seen the best way, if not the only way, to follow what the hell is going on in First Strike was with Juke. So why don't you talk a little bit about the involvement that you had in the Valorant scene?
Sure. Yeah. So like I think this is kind of just dovetails into the whole discussion about First Strike in general.
Yeah.
I think First Strike in general has amazing pros to it, right? It's this huge global structure where you've got regional tournaments, not just for NA, EU, South Korea, Japan, but North Africa. Like you've got regional tournaments in regions that almost never get any kind of esports events. So I think first of all that's amazing, right? It's got this wholly global scope. They're very inclusive, bringing in every single region, and it was like the polar opposite of every Valorant tournament before First Strike, which was just an invitational. This one is like, no, Cloud9, TSM, Sentinels, you're gonna have to play in the open bracket, and you're gonna have to qualify just like everyone else does. And I thought that created really amazing storylines. And I think some of the most exciting parts of the tournament, ironically and like somewhat strangely, were actually the earliest phases of the open brackets. Because like as it got towards the end, it's like, okay, Sentinels, TSM, like all these teams that we already know, but it was amazing to see those teams coming up and playing against like unknown teams upsetting, and that was a really, really exciting part of this. But there's also the complete opposite side of this, which is like the fact that there are so many regional sub tournaments and they're all run by different tournament organizers has made this, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, an entire cluster. A clusterfuck. Okay, you get what I'm about to say. In terms of like finding the information, where are the streams, what's the channel, what's the schedule, how do I find the brackets? In fact, literally for the UMG tournament that starts tomorrow, I was banging on every door I possibly could to just find the schedule, and we only got it like late yesterday. So following First Strike has been really, really difficult, especially for Europe, where there was not even an official stream at all. The only way to watch the qualifiers for Europe so far has been through player POV streams. So we've been able to step in and aggregate all of those streams, whether it's a player POV stream, an official stream, a community caster. We at certain times have had literally 8 or 10 streams live at once on Juke because we're doing our best to cover as many matches as we can. So we're trying to step in and solve this problem. But I think First Strike is amazing, and the things that make it amazing are also like drawbacks as well, with just how difficult it has been to follow. But we're trying to do our best to help solve that.
It's crazy that even for you guys, you have to knock at doors and figure out how to follow it. And like, I can't even imagine without Juked where we would be right now. And also for Riot to be launching these tournaments without any possible ways to watch it is kind of interesting. So I guess NA is kind of lucky that we have 15,000 streams to watch them. If you compare it to Europe, I can't believe they didn't even have a single stream up.
Yeah, but it's definitely awesome that I know this struggle, right? I try to follow like these kinds of tournaments where you ultimately you try to find like their Wikipedia page, and then you have to hope that they have an updated Twitch link as well. Sometimes, a lot of times, they like change their Twitch channel name, and so it's not even relevant anymore. So it won't actually lead to them anymore. It's great what you guys are doing. We're definitely going to sell out for you. So for all of our viewers who do not know, check out Juked at JukedGG. Sign up and start using it. It's fantastic, especially like we said, if you follow multiple esports, but definitely for Valorant as well, especially right now. It's such an amazing tool. But let's go ahead and start talking about some of the things that's going on in Valorant currently. And so one big thing is that I believe we had the talkings about the NA rankings in our last episode, when we think it's super cool that that Valorant and Riot are taking this initiative to give a little bit more exposure to the people on the leaderboards. On their leaderboards that they tell us on Twitter eventually, but there is a little bit of controversy surrounding it.
Yeah, the truth is finally coming out. Ben, I don't know if you saw, but the leaderboard came out, and on my timeline. So I didn't even look. I didn't even search for it. On my timeline, 2 people. So Will and FNS said that they barely played. Like they played like once or twice during the month, and they're in the top 100. So without
Really?
knowing much about the ranking, for me, I already have a problem with it. That means they're not even really focusing on the amount of games that are being played. It's definitely not a frag thing, or like it's very puzzling. It kind of defeats the purpose of having a ranking at this point, just because of the reaction of the players that are on the ranking. I wonder how legit this is. It seems like it's a little bit scrappy or scuffed, and it's
Ben,
just to create some content.
Yeah, Ben, I mean, you have a long history with different competitive titles, and you know how important ranked leaderboards are. I mean, how do you feel about what's going on with Valorant right now, where things are very muddied and we don't really know what any of this is really based upon, especially with these 2 anecdotes from Will and from FNS, who are just like, I don't know why I'm here, but I'll take it and I'll leave. You just take the cloud and you just go.
Can you guys hear me right now? My browser's like hanging up.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
we
sir.
can.
We can hear you.
Okay.
If you can hear us.
My Discord like totally froze, so I guess it's still working. Cool.
Yeah.
That's good to know. I might have to reconnect in a second here. I didn't hear about the drama side of this. All I saw was the leaderboards, and it was pretty cool to see, just to see all those known names from these different teams. But not great to hear that it's not super legit in terms of like, obviously you can't play 2 games and be at the top of the leaderboard, so that's not great.
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of a problem. I assume so. Riot and the Valorant team have been extremely responsive to these kind of critique. So I assume next month already they're going to either be more transparent about what the ranking and the leaderboard is about, and or fix it, because it's not looking great for me to know. And there's even a little bit of I saw a funny thread where people were like, oh, FNS, you're finally playing more. That's great to see on your own. And then, nope, I just played 3 games last month and he was ranked number 30. So it's been quite a funny one. It's still fun to see these little boards. But, we want them in the game or on a website. We want to understand them so that players without a team can grind it. Because right now it's a little bit like, I don't know what I'm grinding for. I don't even know if I'm grinding correctly, right?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest issues is definitely that. Just for the simple fact that there's no clarity about it. It does seem like it's some sort of like maybe KDA based. And so you can have these outliers where like you play very few games and all of a sudden, you just absolutely pop off in like 3 or 4 games and you're on top of the leaderboards. But we need to know that consistency is also a factor that's taken into consideration. One thing that definitely helps is, of course, having some sort of ELO rating where you have a solid concrete number at the very least to really be able to try and first compare these, but also what are the factors that are being taken into consideration at this point. Like you said, it's so difficult for teams. I know that, I don't think the leaderboards from that have been posted on Twitter are being used in any way to really scout for teams, but this is something for teams or for players and prospective professional players to really try to utilize, and having a better understanding of it really is going to help bolster their chances in the future.
Not scouted yet, but I think if it was something that was more available, you would see some of these players eventually at least get tryouts, because I think that's what's happening in other scenes, right? Whether it's in Counter-Strike and FPL, or whether it's in League of Legends with the solo queue ranks and leaderboards. I think that's what's happening a little bit everywhere, and that's what Valorant, I think, needs to create. Was that available in Overwatch? Was there like a solo queue leaderboard thing?
There were leaderboards. I'm trying to quite remember exactly when it was introduced, but they moved through 2 different kind of rating systems. The first one was a triple-digit rating system, where you moved up, and like if you made it up to like 100, I believe the highest in season 1 was Zunba, who ended up being 92 SR or something like that, and he was the highest rated, playing out of Korea. And then they eventually moved on to a 4-digit system out of 5,000 being the highest, and they went through different iterations of that one as well, because you can gain. There was a point where even if you lost, if you played a specific meta character in Overwatch and you performed better on average than how that specific character would in any given game, you would still gain points. And so it was very weird. They ultimately ended on something in between where there's a little bit of your individual performance, but then it also weighted a lot more of your overall team performance as well.
Okay, and that was available for everyone to see. Like you would know who was at the top. Okay, great.
Yeah, you can go back and check every season, I believe.
Oh,
And,
that's
you can see
fun.
the leaderboards all throughout for, I don't know what season they're on in Overwatch now. What is it, like season 29 or something like that? I have no idea.
Yeah.
If you know that answer, I'm gonna stop here. Unfortunately, I don't know a lot of people that still follow Overwatch. Do you, Ben?
Well, I keep hearing that the game's in the best spot it's been in terms of meta
Really?
for like, in years. But no, I don't know. Yikes. No, I don't know anyone that plays Overwatch 2, man. When are they gonna tell us anything about that game? I'm still waiting. I'm just hoping that it's really, really amazing, because that game needs a serious shot in the arm right now.
I think
Totally
they said something
agree.
about BlizzCon in February. When they do the online BlizzCon, I believe they said there should be an announcement. I'm not entirely too sure. We'll see.
Announcement of announcement! Yay!
The esports tradition, it's alive.
Yay! All right. Also, since November 16, yeah, Sky is available in Pro Play. Do you guys think that we're gonna see some Sky in the first strike? That's what because I don't know. Like, my understanding is that they can use it. Players can use it in the qualifier. They can start playing with it. I haven't followed this week what's going on, if people in other regions are playing Sky. But I know last week it wasn't really being played. So do you guys think we're going to see some Sky in the server?
I mean, one thing I know for sure is that even pro players really suck at predicting the meta, like really bad.
That's
Usually,
good.
like 90% of the time, like everyone's wrong. So I don't think anyone knows. But if it's really, actually, that adds even more interest and intrigue to the UMG tournament that starts tomorrow. If Sky is available in that tournament, which teams will have that pocket pick, which teams will have practice her, and come out the gate, with her. So that's actually awesome. If so, I'll be looking forward to seeing that.
This was part of the discussion that we were having on our last show as well, right? About that kind of like almost mid-tournament, mid-season patch, which really does change up things, especially when players and teams have been scrimming for this one particular kind of meta, and then to have an entire new character being put into the game and allowed to be played in competitive does change things up, and you might not have that experience because no one's scrimming with that. So who's got the pocket strat for that? I'm honestly not as familiar with the players to see who have been playing around with her, but I mean, we have seen from the clips that, like, in conjunction with all the other flashes in the game, that like the flash compositions can be absolutely insane. The entry possibilities and the information that she gathers is just absolutely crazy. It would definitely behoove one of the at least underdog teams, at the very least, to try and pull that one out.
Yeah. I've already said what I think about it, but I'm excited to see Sky in the server a little bit like you, just because of what you guys said. If we look back at the UMG, if we look at the current teams that qualified for the first strike in NA, there's only Moon Raccoon, which we had the chance to have on our show 2 weeks ago, that are not signed, guys. Everybody else is on a top org. I'm trying to see who we're missing from that list. No 100 Thieves, No NRG. Who else are we missing that's a big top team right now? Sorry, I kind of decided to think about that on the spot as I was talking. There's a couple of teams that we would like to see. Let me just say that. We would want to see in First Strike. So I hope that they're gonna make it.
Yeah, I think like XSET was definitely one of the teams that we're looking at. I was keeping an eye on who ultimately didn't make it here. So
Energy is there. Never mind. Yep.
Huh?
Energy is there. My bad. And I think 100 teams qualified already, right? That's why they're not playing. Okay, that's why. Good. Okay. All the information is processing in my brain, guys.
But what do you guys think so far? Like taking a look at the tournament, I feel like overall in terms of strength, like it's fairly even across the board. And so this could be anyone's tournament.
I know it's kind of crazy to think about. There's only 4 slots left in the NA main event, which will be taking place pretty soon here, at December 3rd through 6th. We're going to see the main event. This is still essentially the last qualifier for that.
Yeah.
But if you look at the number of top teams that are still in this, obviously TSM is like the #1 team that you'd expect to go through here. T1, I would say, really high expectations for them too. It would be a massive disappointment if they didn't. Immortals, another kind of shoe-in. Cloud9, another kind of shoe-in. But then you've got teams like Complexity, NRG, Dignitas, who's performed really well in previous events, Anbox, FaZe Clan. Only 4 of these teams are going to go through. So no matter what happens, there's going to be some teams that like vastly underperform their expectations or their goal. So I think this UMG second qualifier, this second major qualifier, is going to be really, really exciting over the next couple of days, because any one of those teams I just mentioned not going through, you could consider at least a big disappointment for that org and for that team. But obviously, I think everyone expects like TSM to go through T1. I'll be personally like really curious to see how Dignitas, teams like that are more on the edge, like Dignitas, FaZe Clan, which obviously FaZe Clan has all those amazing Overwatch players who switched over, but has really been underperforming expectations. I think this weekend is going to be really, really exciting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see GiantGG too. GiantGG for me is the team that I root for. Obviously, they're French Canadian, so there's a little bit of that. But also, I feel that they are the ones that are being the most innovative when it comes to utilizing Valorant characters and abilities. So a part of me is rooting for that innovation to make it to First Strike, just so to prove people that it's not just about skills, it's also about teamwork and cohesion and creativity in this game, which is a big change, probably the biggest change from Counter-Strike. And if I was Valorant, I'd be wanting to push as well on that, because that's what makes the game unique. If it was just about the shooting, then people would be playing Counter-Strike, right? So, so it's kind of fun to see them out there. I would say at the bottom of the top pack. Do we agree with that statement? Like, they're not at the top, but they're definitely somewhere. So I want to see them do good. Okay.
Well, I have one question real quickly though. Now that we have like moved on to like tournaments, so how do you feel about like the structure that's going on now that like we've kind of settled into here in terms of like competitive Valorant? We're having like these group stages, GSL group stages, moving on to the bracket stages. Do you think that this is a format that really does suit Valorant? Does it play out well here in the Valorant tournament structure?
I'm a fan of 16 teams. I'm a fan of 32, okay? I like big tournaments, and the reason why we stopped seeing them recently has been production in values, right? And also like stage space when you're on LAN. You don't want 5 stages. You want every match to be shown. You want spectators to be able to catch every match, but that allows for the matches that are boring or stuff that you would like to go to stream B because this is boring, but you can't, or, so 16 is better for me as a consumer. It's just better.
Well, one thing I was talking about earlier was that we've been scrambling to get the schedule for this event, and we have the schedule now. And one thing, I do like this format. I think group stage into a single elim bracket makes a lot of sense. But one thing that I have to call out, because it's just bothering me, I have to say it,
All
is
right.
that there's going to be 8 matches happening at once tomorrow. 8 matches happening at once. So either they're going to have to spin up a million community streams again, which would be cool, like good to give community casters an opportunity to jump in and cast. So either they're going to do that, or we're just not going to have a stream for like all of these really, really important group stage matches. I don't know why they decided to run the entire group stage in a single day. It seems a little bit crazy to me. Or like at least the first 2 matches of the group stage are going to be played in a single day, which is just like a lot. But I wish that it was staggered out a little bit more. I will say that.
Good point. And there's no reason why, right? Because it would give them more visibility, more content, a longer tournament. I did not know that.
Yeah. These are the things you know when you're spending all your days trying to like get schedules, and you notice. And yeah, so look out for that tomorrow. I think actually they said they are going to do community casters again for it. So we'll be scrambling to find all of those community casters and put them on Juke for you guys.
You guys are doing so much awesome work. I can't believe I didn't know how you guys are doing it. To be quite frank, I had no idea. I was like, maybe they have a way people submit and then it shows up. It's still unknown for me, these kind of things. But no, you have to do the dirty and groundwork for us. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, we have our methods. There's a lot of different ways that we get information, but sometimes it's literally just banging on doors.
All right. Well, in the last 2 weeks, of course, you guys have been busy. There's been a lot going on. So let's go back to basically just after our last episode. And so just after our last episode, of course, we had the Nerd Street Gamers First Strike Close tournament. Let's go ahead and talk about that. Like, what were your thoughts about the games? Like, were there any amazing upsets that you think people should be watching? And were you guys surprised by any of the results ultimately here?
I was with the Renegade Cloud9 one, I think. I'm a big fan of the Cloud9 roster just because it was never overhyped. Like they grown that roster like slowly. I've always loved Tens. I think he's quite frankly got really unlucky when it came to his Counter-Strike career. So I kind of wish him good luck in wishing the best in Cloud9. And then I didn't see that at all. Like I didn't expect Renegades. I didn't really see much of Renegades before, to be quite frank. I don't know about you, but I didn't feel they were gonna upset and get that far in the bracket. They even took a match out of Envy. They fell short, but quite impressed with their result.
No, I would agree. I mean, we followed big frames here, at Wisdom when we were doing our weeklies, and we saw some of them, and they did have some great performances, but like ultimately for me, it seemed like a lot of kind of pug play, and it was kind of different here. So seeing that kind of upset, it's actually kind of massive. The 2-0 against Cloud9.
Yeah, no, Renegades clearly out of the 4 teams that qualified already, Renegades is the one that raises the biggest eyebrow, but Envy, I think, is another one. Like they've been doing better. Everyone knows that
that's true. Actually,
their roster is really, really good now. But they might be the best team right now. Like they literally won the last qualifier, beating out Sentinels, 100 Thieves, everybody. So I feel like they've been on an upward trajectory, but the fact that they actually won puts them in a great spot, I think, to potentially beat out everybody. So I'm super excited. Big. I've known Tailspin, the coach over there, for like way too long. I used to play Tribes with him back like 10 years ago.
Tribes, that's right. You played that a lot.
And Overwatch, him as well. So I'm glad to see Tailspin and the Envy boys doing super well.
And I wonder if this Crash Cheese pickup, right? Crash Cheese must be he must be in a situation where you get dropped for T1 for like blame for all the problems pretty much with your ex-teammate, and then you get picked up by Envy and you think, it's not so bad. And then you ended up qualifying over T1 and you ended up doing better. So I think you're right. You're totally right there. And that there's something here about that team. about having FNS lead people that actually trust him is always a good position for him to be in. And I think that at the end of his career, unfortunately, in Counter-Strike, he wasn't able to get there anymore because you need 4 people that fully embrace it. And if we look at that roster, Food Crashies, my man Caboose is exactly it. The people that trust him and that wants to go to war with him, right? And 100 teams, you mentioned it real quick, but I have to talk about it, guys. I did not expect the 100 teams roster to be successful that quick. I thought that it would take like the Sentinel route, you know, like a lot more time, but at some point they were gonna be dominant and almost unstoppable. But here they are, less than a month after the complete new roster, and Asuna is already a superstar. These guys are, I want to say, have 3 older players, and they finished second, beating Sentinels along the way, dominating TSM, and made it versus Envy in the finals. And for me, I'm like really impressed.
No, I completely agree. I mean, yeah, you hit it on the nail, right? Less than a month to really just add on these 2 new young bloods onto this roster of just absolute like veterans and rock stars in the CS:GO scene, and to have them just mesh as quickly. But I mean, I think we talked about it, right? Like that this was a squad with Hiko, Nitro, and Steel as like the base. Like you needed some young fraggers to really go in and be very aggressive and stuff like that. And their addition to the squad is just looks really good. But I was definitely surprised again having this kind of performance. I mean, this was an absolutely stacked tournament here for the Nerd Street Gamers. Closed. The naming is so long, but yeah, the Nerd Street Gamers First Strike North American Tournament.
God, that's my other pet peeve about this. The tournament's just called the Nerd Street Gamer Tournament. Like, come on. this weekend's the UMG tournament. Anyway,
yeah,
but it's
I'm on your side. Totally agree. And for sometimes the Apex community makes me feel a little bit that way too. with these acronyms of tournaments names, and I'm just like, I'm really trying real hard to follow, but I don't know how. Okay, so let's talk about the EU version of this. The 4 for Steam were confirmed as well. G2, Liquid, Fun Plus, Phoenix, and some FC. Because of how much there is to follow right now in the world of gaming, especially in Valorant as well, I haven't followed much of the other teams than these top 4. So I don't know if there was any upset. I don't know if there was anything surprising about them. I'm just kind of like, meh, yeah, the top 4 teams I thought were going to make it, made it. Meh. Oh, except I guess Ninjas and Pajamas, but yeah.
One of the things we did talk about, though, for this qualifier, for the EU qualifier, was that the group stages was drastically different, right? Because it was a best of 1. They had so many teams that were registered that they
it was like 500 something teams?
Something like
wow,
that.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it was BO1 500 team bracket, like some crazy thing like that.
Yeah, just administratively, I think like it had to be done, unfortunately, but that did leave room for the upsets. I don't know exactly where all the squads ended up placing. It did look like, so NIP did make top 16 at the very least. Yeah, for the qualifiers.
It looks like Sund also does not have an org, so we got the first top 4 teams qualified for First Strike over there. One of them is orgless, so that's kind of interesting to think about too. That also shows how the org situation in Europe in Valorant is really completely different. Like if you have NA, the top 16 teams are almost all signed, and then in EU, in the first qualifier, team number 4 is not signed at all, and they just have to make it out there and show that they can compete.
I think we should talk about that actually, because this is something, as someone who also is obsessed with numbers and following viewership information all the time. One thing we've been following very closely and really kind of scratching our head about. I have some hypotheses, but the viewership for NA versus
Yeah.
EU is just not even comparable. Like EU tournaments are peaking at 10, 20K concurrent viewers. NA tournaments are peaking at 60, 70, 80, 100K concurrent viewers. I think in NA, we kind of had this perfect storm of hype that led to that TSM Sentinels rivalry, which like supercharged NA Valorant Esports, like interest in NA Valorant Esports to another level. Like it was just this amazing, beautiful storyline that you don't get very often in esports of trash talk and like kept meeting in tournament finals over and over again, and it kept going back and forth, and all these great personalities on both teams. And I actually like credit that rivalry alone as the reason why NA Valorant Esports has picked up as much interest as it has. But if you look at EU, obviously G2, Team Liquid, those are really the teams that do have at least the followings, like Scream obviously playing for Team Liquid, G2 being G2, and you've obviously got Carlos like doing his best to hype that whole ecosystem up. But it's been crazy to see just how different the viewership has been between these regions.
I've talked about it maybe a little bit, but I have a theory too. It has to do with the Counter-Strike talent pool, which in NA is Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Unfortunately, especially in COVID time, is really hurting teams in tournaments that are not the top of the. I wanted to say cream of the cream, but apparently, guys, you say cream of the crop in English, but they're not the cream of the crop. Kind of don't have a chance to survive right now, and they're not profitable for orgs. So I think that orgs we're also trying to find opportunities to get involved into the first-person shooter scene without sacrificing all of their money into a dying NA Counter-Strike situation. While in the EU, Counter-Strike is better than ever. Everything is going super well over there. So very little players transferred. Only some tier 2 players, like you mentioned, Scream, Mixwell, Pith, they moved on. But when it comes to the rest, it seems like the scene prefers to stay top 2, top 3 in Counter-Strike instead of transitioning to Valorant, which honestly in NA, everybody switched. Everybody jumped the boat. There's no more tier 2 CS in NA. They're all gone. It's all in Valorant, guys.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, that's the story that you're hearing about all these players. Like Wardell had a disappointing career in Counter-Strike, comes over to Valorant, doing super well. Tens, kind of similar story. Yep. There's a lot of those. Yeah.
A lot of broken careers like FNS, it wasn't going really well for him. Now he's on Envy, rocking the world here. So totally agree. Also the band players, right?
Yeah.
Also that.
That's true.
I
That's
bet
another
power
topic
players.
we could definitely talk about for a while.
For sure. Oh, did you guys see, actually, before we swap to another topic here, did you guys see the controversy boost? There's no way you guys didn't see it, right? The controversy boost around the Guild Esports versus G2. So what do you guys think about how it was handled, if you followed it a little bit?
So my understanding is that there were really no clear rules here. So
yeah, I agree.
I somewhat feel bad for Guild, but also it feels like an exploit. If it seems like an exploit, then it probably is an exploit. But
yeah,
you can't really blame them, can you? If it wasn't in the rule book or nobody's really talked about it, I don't know.
I find that it was handled really poorly from all sides. I'm on your side. I feel bad for Guild because nobody told them they couldn't. But at the same time, if you look at the boost, you're like, I don't know. I would be worried. I would be worried to be disqualified, So hopefully that sets a little bit of a precedent for teams in Valorant. If you have a doubt, either don't use it or ask before the tournament organizer. As a tournament organizer myself, if you ask me about a boost, I will respect the call that I do before the tournament, and I'll tell you, like, you can't do that or you can, and then I won't disqualify you for it. So people at home, learn from this moment. Because that boost was really cool, actually, but a little turret holding that wall of ice. No, thank you, guys. You will get banned from a really important team tournament. All right.
Yeah, I wonder if this is like the precedent set going forward, though. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, were there other ways they could have handled this? Could a replay just have been done instead, or something? Anything, honestly. Just because it felt so shoehorned in, the kind of response to that. But that's what I worry about. Is this the precedent moving forward?
I wonder too. I wonder if the replay could have been a possible situation too. If they used it more than once, I would have just replayed, I think, in that situation. But so okay, so time is running out. Want to say real quick that teams are still picking up people here, like Knights GG just picked up someone, a new team last week. I only knew Frosty because he used to be on X Moon Raccoon, but other than that, they're kind of new to me. They're Fortnite players, but yeah. So congratulations to them. It's always good to see orgs getting picked up. Was it worth it for you guys, for the Pittsburgh Knights, to pick up like a potentially tier 2 Valorant team?
I mean, in this case in particular, I mean, the name that does stand out is going to be Exif. I believe that's how you pronounce it, because I just remember last year there was a lot of controversy, particularly around that name, about there were cheating accusations, I believe, during the Fortnite World Cup or the qualifiers leading up to the Fortnite World Cup. I could be misremembering, but it's just odd that, an org would kind of take this risk, especially, coming from a scene that was massive last year. Not so much, I guess, this year, but still, it's odd that an organization would do that.
I think that Valorant right now is completely the Wild West. We've seen people match drawing getting picked up. We've seen people cheating getting picked up. We've seen, as long as they're good in Valorant, orgs are kind of closing their eyes like, no, just want to win, and then let's pick it up. So I didn't know that this guy might have been in a controversy in Fortnite. It says a lot about the org values. Let's just say that. That for me is.
I'm just wondering if it's like, because Pittsburgh Knights, they've been around for like 2-3 years now. I don't know exactly what their history is in terms of their history and who their staff is anymore. I remember Leonix was on staff with them for a little bit, not any longer. So I don't know if they actually have a kind of esports background.
It's James and Garrett. So they do. So that's why I think it's a choice. James O'Connor, that used to be GB. James in Counter-Strike, as well as Garrett, who was a professional player as well as a caster at some point. So they're kind of in charge of it. So
I feel like a counterpoint in favor of them picking up kind of a maybe B tier team, if you want to call it that, is I just went and looked at the Renegades, their previous performance over the last couple of months. 7th to 8th, 9th to 12th, 7th to 8th, 2nd in a smaller tournament, 5th to 6th, 5th to 8th, 13th to 16th, 4th, 9th to 16th, and now they're qualified for the main event for First Strike. So they haven't had a history of success, yet here they are. So I think we still don't know who the top teams are going to be, and this is again why I really love these open tournaments and these open formats. But I think this Renegades team can show you that you can come out of nowhere, make a couple roster swaps, and suddenly you have a top team.
Oh, I like your way of thinking. I like this. This is why you're on the show, just being the devil advocate, that tell me the right things. I like it a lot. All right, as I said, time is running out. So let's go into different kind of topic, maybe a hot topic or a fun topic. So the Knights Valorant League has been taken down. I didn't have time to investigate much into it. I don't know if you guys did. All I know is I remember they were doing a lot of Valorant stuff. They were even, so while we're talking about the Knights, they were even doing $5,000 tournament left and right. I wasn't understanding really well the business model of what they were doing, but I guess it was working for them. Were you guys able to see what happened with their league? Did anyone pretty much follow that ride or not?
I'm just wondering if it's maybe just like a tournament license issue where maybe they just didn't want to, like they paid out too much and now, they had to actually buy out the more expensive tournament rights. And that might kind of be it, the tournament license. I don't know, but they said that they're going to be moving on to do more community focused stuff where, they want to be running scrims. And I get that, that is definitely, that's definitely a void currently in the community to really facilitate that. We're seeing a lot of that happening in Fortnite right now, I believe, where a lot of the community members, the casters themselves, are getting very involved in building out these scrim discords and scrim lobbies and stuff like that. And so I like that they're taking that approach, but overall, I think my big guess is that it's probably something to do with tournament licenses for them.
Yeah. I read so we were doing tournaments with CLG and I read the rules so many times and we're in contact with Riot so many times. It is not always easy to find your place amongst all of these tournaments going on. Especially imagine if you were doing a tournament during the first strike month. No one would be playing.
Yeah.
Okay. Ben, when someone brings up Valorant, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Let's see. I think because we're in the early stages of Valorant, this is actually my favorite time to really get into an esport. Is like really, really early when nobody knows who the best teams are. These storylines are just kind of emerging in front of your eyes. So I always love this period, especially with first-person shooters, because MissHarvey, you and I, we've been in the FPS scene for a long time. I love when a new game comes out and you see all these players from different games coming together, forming teams to see who's the best and show their pride for like the games and communities that they come from. So that's really the thing that I love watching right now in Valorant the most is like following like these up and coming players, up and coming teams as they're solidifying the pecking order. So I guess when I think of like Valorant and Valorant Esports, that's the one thing that I'm thinking about the most.
Were you around when Fatality tried to give it a go in Counter-Strike?
Oh God, that predates me. I was playing Tribes. I did not know anything about any of that at that time. That must have been like 2006 or something.
Yeah, there was a time where the best Unreal Tournament player / kind of Quake, he was a little bit everywhere, decided to give it a shot in Counter-Strike because it was obviously the bigger scene at the time. It was quite interesting time. He went back real quick to his roots, to Painkiller to win like 1 million.
Oh yeah, he did great. He did great.
It was a great career moves. That's it, guys. Let's jump into some personal shout outs. Why don't we start with our only guest this week, Ben?
Sure. You heard if you listen to the beginning of the podcast, I think we talked a lot about you. I just ask if you're interested in Valorant Esports, which obviously you are. You're listening to this podcast, you're watching this podcast. Come check out our Valorant directory. We've got a page up for First Strike where we have literally every regional tournament from Japan, Korea, North America, Europe, Brazil, Southeast Asia. The list goes on and on and on. Turkey, Middle East, and Africa. We're supporting every single region. So if you're like, I'm bored and I want to watch some Valorant, like just come check out juke.gg/VAL for a Valorant directory. And if you're interested in any other esports, come check out juke.gg. Please consider subscribing. We send a weekly newsletter every Thursday. It'll be going out tomorrow where we recap all of the biggest tournaments and events happening every single week. So I write that myself. So hopefully you enjoy that. And yeah, just please consider subscribing, making an account on Juked. We're launching new features all the time, trying to make a better experience for you, the viewer. So yeah, that's all I have to shout out. I don't even shout my own personal stuff anymore. It's all about
I love everything you do. You're one of the only Discord I keep the notification on because I want to know about these news. I do
That's what I
want
like
to
to
know
hear.
about
That's what I like
these
to hear.
news. I like when you say big update. You know, I read all the updates, and I'm really really excited for your product and your work. I haven't been that excited to a news website ever. I think, not a news website.
Scott Frag, maybe.
Godfrag. Ah, those
Throwback.
days. They're all lost. As far as us, Jamerson, obviously follow us on this channel, GiantSlayerTV. We are here every 2 weeks. If you're listening to us, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. For fun, the other day, I searched MissHarvey on Spotify, and I found the podcast very easily. So that's awesome, because there's a lot of running back or run it back Valorant podcast. We thought we were so clever.
We thought we were so clever.
Thank you so much, Ben, for having us.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, because you were the host. Look, you have
I was the host.
it's a big image. Thank you so much for being here. Jamerson, I'm glad that you're not sick anymore and you feel better.
Yeah, feeling much better. But yeah, make sure, of course, you're following us on Twitter at GiantSlayerVAL. I mean, honestly, every Giant Slayer kind of production, they are involved in so many esports right now. I believe, doing a lot of the TFT stuff as well. It's been absolutely amazing to see the growth of Giant Slayer. So make sure you're following that, and send us, any kind of feedback that you have, of course. And if you want any specific guests, let us know as well. We'll try our best to get them on the show as well. Just go ahead and send that all on over on Twitter at GiantSlayerVAL. That's VAL at the end there. And that's really going to do it for us. We're going to be back, though, in 2 weeks' time. That's the bi-weekly show that is running it back. And so we will see you, I believe, it's going to be December then. And so that should be a fun one. I mean, we're going to have a lot of games to talk about after this week as well. We'll see if any big updates come for Valorant, and maybe there will be some more big news. That will do it for us. Thank you all for tuning in, and have a great day.
Bye.